I'm Paul Camuti, and I'm an elder and a teacher at Real Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I want to welcome you to another segment of Restoration. You know, most of us are familiar with the opening words to the Declaration of Independence, and I'd like to read them to you right now. Quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Now, it's clear from the opening words of the Declaration of Independence that the founders believed that people's rights come from God and not from government. In fact, it was the founders' experience with the government of Great Britain that government tends to diminish the God-given rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is why the founders decided to break free from Great Britain using these very words of the Declaration. These rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are the result of freedom. If these rights come from God, as the founders believe, and if these rights are the result of freedom, then that means freedom is a gift from God as well. It is clear from their writings that the founders believed that freedom itself comes from God. In the Gospel of John, chapter 8, verse 36, Jesus said this, If the Son therefore shall make you free, you shall be free indeed." Jesus is clearly stating that true freedom comes from Him, the Son of God, or God incarnate. The rights that come from God that are espoused in the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution are actually derived from the principles of English common law, which is found in the Magna Carta. There is no question that the principles of the Magna Carta, or English common law, is based on biblical Christian principles. The opening words of the Magna Carta state this, "John, by the grace of God, the King of England." And just a few sentences later, the Magna Carta reads this way, "Know that having regard to God and for the salvation of our soul, those of our ancestors and heirs, and unto the honor of God, and to the advancement of His holy church." The first thing the Magna Carta addresses is this, and I quote, "In the first place, we have granted to God, and by our present charter, confirmed for us and our heirs forever, that the English church shall be free and shall have rights entire, and her liberties inviolate." Now, do you think it's a coincidence that the first thing the Magna Carta addresses and the first thing the United States Constitution addresses is religious freedom? The Magna Carta also emphasized that everyone, the king, the citizens, the lord, the servant, are all equally accountable to the law. The U.S. Constitution, by having three branches of government for the purpose of checks and balances, giving limited powers to each of the three branches and the federal government and the state, is essentially the same thing, that all are equally accountable under the law. Over the past several years, our government at every level has been becoming increasingly corrupt. The media, by and large, is corrupt. The culture has been increasingly corrupt. Yet, as we watch the presidential politics unfold, we're seeing things that many legitimate journalists, though there's only a few of them, have stated that they haven't seen anything like this before. I was 13 years old when the riots broke out in Chicago during the Democratic National Convention in 1968. I grew up in the Vietnam and Watergate era. I was a young married man when Jimmy Carter was president and then later Ronald Reagan. And I must say, I would have to agree with the journalists that I have never seen anything like we are seeing now. So much is being said about Americans being angry. So much is being said now about non-establishment types like Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders have tapped into the anger of Americans. If Americans are angry, we need to take a look in the mirror, because we the people are responsible for our own anger. We gripe and complain about the ineptitude of the president, about the incompetence and the gutlessness of Congress, and yet we the people are the ones that put them there in the first place. And the last several election cycles, we the people voted more out of our emotion of anger than we did out of researching the candidates and actually finding out where the candidates truly stood. If the candidate said something that we just liked to hear and we were already mad at the other guy or the other gal, we voted for them. Then within months, we came down with a severe case of voter's remorse. You think I'm a little harsh saying this? Listen to a prophetic statement that President James Garfield made. Oh, and by the way, President Garfield was also a minister of the gospel. There was once a time when America didn't have a problem voting for a minister. Here's what he said. Now more than ever before, the people are responsible for the character of their Congress. If that body, meaning Congress, be ignorant, reckless, and corrupt, it is because the people tolerate ignorance, recklessness, and corruption. If Congress be intelligent, brave, and pure, it's because the people demand these high qualities to represent them in the national legislature. If the next centennial does not find us a great nation, it will be because those who represent the enterprise, the culture, and the morality of the nation do not aid in the controlling of political forces. In other words, folks, we get the government we ask for. And the reason why corruption is running rampant in our government is because corruption's running rampant in our culture. And the reason why corruption is running rampant in those two arenas is because, unfortunately, this type of corruption is always also running rampant in the Christian church in America. And although Donald Trump has coined the phrase about making America great again, the rest of the campaigners are saying the same thing using different words. Voting on the right people based on our actual knowledge of the candidates is one way of making America great again. But the most important way to make America great again is for America, especially the Christian church in America, is to return our hearts back to God. Now, you might not want to hear this, but what I'm about to read is what Jesus said to a church in the book of Revelation. This is primarily where the Christian church in America and America as a nation is at right now. Jesus said, "Because you say, I am rich and increased in goods and have need of nothing, and you know not, you are wretched and miserable, poor, blind, and naked, I counsel you to buy of me gold that is tried in fire, so that you may be rich, and white raiment, that you may be clothed, and that the shame of your nakedness does not appear. Anoint your eyes with eye salve, that you may see. As many as I love and rebuke, I chasten. Be zealous, therefore, and repent. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come to him and will sup with him, and him with me." Folks, it's time we started to hear his knock and open the door of our hearts and let him in. We need to let him in. Until next time, God bless and God save America.